Today, we will introduce SVP to those of you joining us for the first time and learn from the experiences of two SVP alumni and hear from the university representative from across the globe.
Before we begin with the Overseas University Fair, I would like to share with you some exciting news. If you are a parent looking for an integrated and inclusive education for your children, Sekolah Victory Plus is the answer. Sekolah Victory Plus is inviting you to know more about our holistic education through our open house, which will take place from the 13th to the 17th of December. Please join us to meet with our educational consultants who will answer your questions about Sekolah Victory Plus. For more information and to chat with us about exciting opportunities that are awaiting your children, be sure to check out our website at svp.sch.id. I'm Mr. Ed, and joining with me here today is Toby from grade 12.
Morning, Mr. Ed.
Good morning, Toby. How long have you been attending SVP?
Well, I've been here since I was a toddler, so just about 12 years.
So, what would you say to parents who are considering sending their children to SVP?
Well, I would say one of the stronger sides of SVP is its very close-knit community. Between the teachers and the students, there's a very comfortable environment where we can ask questions or perhaps just have casual banter, which creates, both academic and of course just outside of academic processes very efficient and enjoyable. SVP somehow makes the learning experiences enjoyable and of course makes learning fun.
So aside from the learning, we at SVP have champion mindset, entrepreneurial spirit, and the IB learner profile. How would you say this helps you?
Well, of course, this also boils down to the IB learner profiles itself. The IB has its rigorous academic training and regimen. It's very focused on, improving our academic strengths. But of course, there's also a focus on individual character and personal growth. We are encouraged to be personal, leaders, independent for ourselves, and of course, to strive for our own ambitions. The champion values also tells us to, of course, value our environment, to also take care of other people, and of course, be mindful of those around us in the environment. So I think these values sets students at SVP to become global leaders of a global mindset that could, influence society in a more meaningful way.
Thank you, Toby. As a taster for what SVP has to offer, please watch the following video.
Selamat pagi dan salam sehat selalu. Perkenalkan, saya dengan Nita, Admission Supervisor Sekolah Victory Plus. Bapak Ibu sekalian, terima kasih atas partisipasinya. Dengan senang hati, saya akan membantu Bapak Ibu menjelaskan mengenai proses pendaftaran dan promo yang sangat menarik. Di masa new normal ini, kita harus bisa berinovasi dan beradaptasi terhadap perubahan. Bukan hanya untuk sistem pembelajaran, tetapi juga untuk proses pendaftaran di sekolah kami. Sekolah Victory Plus telah terbukti keberhasilannya dalam membimbing peserta didiknya untuk berprestasi baik secara akademis maupun sosial. Kurikulum internasional bakalaureat yang diemban terbukti membuat peserta didik kami siap untuk menghadapi tantangan di tingkat pendidikan selanjutnya, baik lokal maupun internasional. Sekolah Victory Plus berlokasi di perumahan Kemang Pratama, Bekasi. Tepatnya di Jalan Citra Niaga Raya, Blok AO 1-14. Kami memiliki fasilitas belajar yang sangat lengkap, termasuk kolam renang, lapangan basket dan sepak bola, dan yang terpenting adalah yang menjadi kebanggaan Sekolah Victory Plus, yaitu Outdoor Learning Center, di mana kami yakin pembelajaran tidak hanya dapat dilakukan di dalam kelas, melainkan juga dapat dilakukan di luar ruang. Bapak Ibu yang masih merasa khawatir untuk datang ke sekolah, tidak perlu bingung, karena semua proses pendaftaran dapat dilakukan secara online. Silakan untuk mengunjungi website Sekolah Victory Plus dan mengisi pendaftaran secara online. Tim admission kami dengan senang hati akan segera menghubungi dan melakukan proses selanjutnya secara online. Program pembelajaran di Sekolah Victory Plus dimulai dari usia 6 bulan sampai dengan 18 tahun. Untuk usia 6 bulan sampai 2 tahun merupakan jenjang baby gym. Usia 2 sampai 3 tahun, jenjang toddler. Usia 3 sampai 4 tahun, jenjang nursery. Usia 4-6 tahun, jenjang EY1 dan EY2. Usia 6-12 tahun, jenjang sekolah dasar atau Primary School Program. Usia 11-16 tahun, kelas 7 sampai dengan kelas 10 atau Middle Year Program. Usia 16-18 tahun, kelas 11 dan 12 atau SVP Diploma. Saya akan membantu menjelaskan untuk biaya investasi dari mulai Early Childhood Education sampai dengan kelas 12. Paket pertama dimulai dari jenjang toddler, nursery, EY1 dan EY2. Untuk registration fee atau biaya pendaftaran sebesar Rp500.000. Untuk submission fee atau uang pangkal sebesar Rp6.415.000 per tahun dan harus dilakukan pembayaran penuh di muka untuk 4 tahun. Untuk uang sekolah atau tuition fee dapat dibayarkan 4 kali dalam 1 tahun dan biaya untuk toddler sebesar Rp5.800.000, nursery Rp7.703.000, EY1 dan EY2 Rp9.700.000. Paket kedua merupakan paket EY1 dan EY2. Untuk registration fee sebesar Rp500.000, submission fee atau uang pangkal sebesar Rp14.580.000 per tahun dan harus dilakukan pembayaran penuh di muka untuk 2 tahun. Pembayaran uang sekolah atau tuition fee dibayarkan 4 kali dalam 1 tahun sebesar Rp9.700.000. Paket selanjutnya merupakan paket primary school atau sekolah dasar. Biaya untuk 6 tahun dari mulai kelas 1 sampai dengan kelas 6. Untuk biaya pendaftaran atau registration fee sebesar Rp500.000, submission fee atau uang pangkal sebesar Rp11.900.000 per tahun dan harus dibayarkan penuh di muka untuk 6 tahun. Untuk biaya uang sekolah atau tuition fee, pembayaran dilakukan 4 kali dalam 1 tahun. Untuk kelas 1 sampai kelas 6 sebesar Rp14.800.000. Selanjutnya merupakan paket secondary school atau sekolah menengah. Untuk biaya registration fee atau biaya pendaftaran sebesar Rp500.000, submission fee atau uang pangkal yang penuh dibayarkan 3 tahun di muka dari kelas 7 sampai kelas 9 sebesar Rp25.628.000 per tahunnya. Untuk biaya submission fee dan uang pangkal kelas 7 sampai dengan kelas 10 sebesar Rp24.759.000 per tahun dan harus dibayarkan penuh di muka untuk 4 tahun. Untuk kelas 10 sampai dengan kelas 12 dibayarkan sebesar Rp27.400.000 per tahun dan harus dilakukan pembayaran penuh di muka untuk 3 tahun. Untuk kelas 11 dan 12 sebesar Rp27.575.500 per tahun dan harus dibayarkan penuh di muka untuk 2 tahun. Untuk biaya uang sekolah atau tuition fee dibayarkan 4 kali dalam 1 tahun. Untuk per 3 bulannya sebesar Rp15.700.000, untuk kelas 10 sebesar Rp15.800.000 dan untuk kelas 11 dan 12 sebesar Rp19.400.000. Rekomendasikan keluarga dan juga rekanan Bapak Ibu untuk mendapatkan cashback sampai dengan Rp1.500.000 per orang. Kami siap untuk membantu dan juga memberikan yang terbaik bagi persiapan masa depan putra-putri Bapak Ibu. Terima kasih dan kami tunggu kehadirannya di Sekolah Victory Plus.
The SVP University Fair is an annual event dedicated to students from grade 7 all the way through grade 12 who are planning to go to an overseas university. On average, about 38% of our graduates attend overseas university. 42% attend various private institutions around Indonesia, and 20% attend local universities. Some of the schools Victorians have moved on to include University of Edinburgh, Scotland, Rotterdam University, Netherlands, Notre Dame University, Glasgow School of Art, and the University of Westminster.
In this university fair, we will find out things essential for you to prepare your way to an overseas university. Joining with us today is more than 50 overseas universities from 17 different countries. Some of the universities represented here today are National Kaohsiung University, Berkeley University, Griffith University, National Research Nuclear University, Swinburne University of Technology.
This event will not only provide you with information about the universities that you want to apply, but will also share how to prepare for cultural shock you may encounter. Also, how to embrace it. Knowing where you want to go is important, as there is no favorable wind for the sailor who doesn't know where to go.
For the next 30 minutes, you will hear about how SVP alumni has successfully applied for the university of their choices. And for that, joining us today are Marco Victoria Handoko and Audi Batslina.
For this portion of today's event, we are happy to have with us Marco and Audi. May I please ask you to briefly introduce yourselves? Marco?
Start first?
Yeah, you can start first.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Marco, and I've been studying in SVP since I was a toddler, basically. So, I studied here until I finished high school in 2014. Then I went to uni in the Glasgow School of Art in Scotland, and then now I'm working as an architect and as an architectural designer.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I'm Audi and I graduated here in 2015. I came in grade 10 from Al-Azhar across. And then after I graduated, I went to Universitas Indonesia in business management, and then going to University of Melbourne for a double degree in marketing. So now I'm working as an associate product manager at MSD Pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much for joining us. So, Marco, as someone that spent a lot of your life here at SVP, what do you remember from your time here?
Definitely the time I spent with my friends. So, we often, because most of my friends have been here since we're in early childhood, so we've grown really close to each other. And we often do activities together, and one of the memorable things was joining this football competition. So we were pretty bad at first, but we suddenly got better, and we finally got this runner-up for this league, and it was really fun at the time. So
congratulations. And Audi, what do you remember from your years here?
I remember same thing. So spending time with my friends. I remember on my first day of school, I was so impressed that there were chickens at the center of the garden, in the school. And so I was just kind of like staring at them. And my friends just came to me and like, what are you doing, Audi? I just want to touch the chickens, And they actually helped me to catch the chicken so I can hug it. So that's what I remember.
So as two people that have been successful in your field, who inspired you to choose the path that you went on?
who first?
You can go first, yeah.
Actually, I've been liking art and design since I was a kid, so I really love drawing. But for architecture, I think it's inspired from going to my friend's house. So my friend had this really nice house, and I really enjoyed going there, and I wanted to have something like that for myself. So maybe that's why I decided to learn about architecture and finally figure out that it's much more than just making houses. So it's such a broad thing.
I remember Marco was very famous for his art in my time.
Really?
So for me, I actually didn't know what I was gonna do. So I actually liked art as well in school, and I just like literature, English, and so my parents were like, you look like someone who's very dynamic, so why don't you try marketing? And so because there's design components in marketing, you have to be really creative with a lot of the strategies that you take as well. So I just kind of went along with it.
I think it's nice to hear people doing what they're passionate about, taking something like art and then just going with it and making a career out of it, and with creativity, to be able to be creative as a profession. Oh, that's great. So, one other question I have here is, what roadblocks did you come across from secondary onto university? So, yeah, so on your path when you decided, okay, I'm going to do this, what roadblocks did you have?
For me, I guess say it's the application process, because when I was in high school, I didn't really take any like maybe any exams that are really for example like A levels or IB diploma. I didn't have any of those, so I took the national exam, and luckily I was able to apply to university which sees your portfolio as one of their main acceptance requirements. So luckily I had a portfolio, and I used that for applying.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I think for me it was taking both A levels and the UN, the national examinations. And I guess my lack of care as well to study for the exam. So I got, a very average score. I wouldn't say it was like good, excellent. And so I was kind of lucky, I would say, that I got the invitation to UI without, having to actually take the test to go there. And so I think that was my roadblock.
Okay.
I guess not studying enough, I guess, for the exams. I think, if I had to use those scores, I would have regretted not studying more.
Well, speaking of roadblocks to your universities, like one question is like, how did you decide on which universities to apply to? Considering your choices and what you want, your personal ambition, how did you choose?
Go first.
Okay. I was actually just going with it. I just heard from the faculty at SVP that there's, the UI invitation undangan for some of their departments, and so I just kind of, let's just try. I didn't know if I was gonna get in anyways with all the competition. I know it was like very competitive, but I just tried it and just have a backup, like bonus, and then I didn't really think too much about it, but just went. If there's an opportunity, I think you should take it.
For me, what's the question again?
How did you decide on your university?
So actually, I decided at first I wanted to go to uni in Indonesia, which is Universitas Parayangan in Bandung, because it's well known for its architecture architecture studies. So I applied there and got accepted in my first term of high school in grade 12, my first quarter of grade 12. So I really didn't care about applying after that, but suddenly my friend told me there's this website called UCAS, so you can apply to 5 universities in the UK directly. So I tried that for fun, but suddenly I got accepted in one of them. And after being encouraged by my family as well, and also my friends, I decided to take the one abroad.
Right. Actually, I'd like to ask Audi if something is like, you actually had, correct me if I'm wrong, like you went to the university in Australia, right? How did you decide or apply there? What made you move to Australia?
So first I came to Universitas Indonesia, and then they have the double degree program for the international students. There's actually some universities you can choose, and one of them was University of Melbourne. I chose that one just because I saw in the rankings for marketing and business management, it was one of the better ones compared to the other university choices that was working with Universitas Indonesia. So I just kind of targeted, I'm gonna go there. I think that's the best one for me personally.
Yeah. Knowing all of these, qualifications of universities, which sources of information did you find the most helpful, perhaps for you deciding to move to Australia and for Kamarko moving, of course, to Glasgow?
Me first, or?
You.
Okay. The QS ranking. I think I just filter by degree, and then you can see all the universities that you can see there that has a higher ranking in that particular department, and then the university website itself. And also because I have family in Australia as well, so I just asked them, what life is like there, just so I can get a feel of, how living there is like.
For me, I use the QS World Rankings as well, but I remember this one website where they have this rate of employment rate or something when you graduate. So I picked the ones that are not the very top universities, but like somewhere in the middle. And there was this website that my dad showed me once. Like the Glasgow School of Art was one of the top 10 schools to study architecture, but now I can't find it anymore. So yeah, actually I based my decision going there from that website, but now it's not here anymore.
So can you take us through the application process? So once you decided on the university you wanted to go through, can you take us through that process, Marco?
Oh, me.
Yeah.
For applying, right?
Yes, please.
So I applied through this website called UCAS. So you can apply to 5 universities at once by just uploading like your transcripts and your grades and like a personal statement. And then from there, like if you get accepted, the university will contact you directly to schedule an interview or any additional requirements or documents. And at the time, actually, I got this schedule for the interview, but I didn't take it because I was really set on studying here. But then last minute, when I asked them, can I still be accepted? And then they said yes. So it was like 2 months before uni starts.
Wow, that must have been quite a rush to go from thinking you're going to school in Indonesia and then all of a sudden you're on your way to Glasgow. All right. And Audi, how was the process for you?
To go to University of Melbourne, I was already in uni, so I was on my second year, and I think they have prerequisites that you have to have a certain amount of GPA per semester, and then you have to prepare your CV, letter of recommendation. And so I was actually there was a moment where I thought I wouldn't go to University of Melbourne because I thought like in one semester my GPA was not as good as they were requiring me to have, but I passed anyways. Turns out it was lower than I expected, the benchmark. And so I think it's the usual. You just submit the documents. And I think with Universitas Indonesia, they make it easier for those who wants to go to, their partner universities because they have assigned, agents from the University of Melbourne itself to guide the student. You go to their office and they'll kind of even help you do your visa and stuff. So I just kind of, listen to them and what the process is.
So it is a big process going from secondary to university. In that process, what did you find the most difficult?
I would say that I didn't really think about it too much. So I didn't really stress about it. I didn't stress about whether I'll go to this uni or that uni. So I was actually surprised that I got accepted to the one that I wanted. So I think it's better to just, be relaxed. Don't think too much about it.
I think that is really good advice, Audi.
Yeah.
And how about you, Marco?
Actually, the same. I don't really stress about it that much because actually I was accepted in the first term of my grade 12. So, and then I applied to the topic which maybe I'm better at, which is art and design. So, yeah, I guess just go with what you like.
I don't think we're good examples of, conveying anxiety.
I think it's important because you followed your passion, and your passion left you. Well, you had your passion, and your passion took you to where you are today. So, for me, I remember when I was applying for my degrees, and I remember the stress of waiting. Oh, have I been accepted? I checked the mail every single day, and when I finally received that letter, I was excited. I remember I actually went to the admissions. Did I get accepted? Am I accepted? I was really excited. So, what were your thoughts when you finally got accepted? I'll start, Marco. What were your thoughts?
I was really conflicted inside because I was accepted in Indonesia, and I had my mind really set on continuing my education here. But suddenly there is this option of studying abroad. It was quite a long process for me to decide. I asked even a few people, like even real practicing architects in Indonesia, like which one is the best choice for me. But finally, in the end, I think you can do well in both. But for me personally, I think being abroad has helped me a lot and has opened up new perspectives for me.
I think, yeah, I think that's an interesting decision when you have that choice. Do I stay or do I go? And it's a very interesting decision. How about you?
For me, I was just shocked because I didn't think I would go into Universitas Indonesia. So I was just like kind of staring at it, and I'm like, okay, I got accepted. I guess I'll go there. So I just screenshotted it,
Nice.
sent it to my parents, and I'm like, guess I got accepted, and just went along with it.
Okay, and one last question for me is, so you're at uni, you're finally there after the whole process. What was your, what was the main difference between secondary and university? I know that's a huge question, but what was the main difference?
I would say that you're expected to be a lot more independent. I mean, even the university building itself is so huge, right? And so you're just free to choose wherever you go. I mean, I know you take a certain major and you're with your classmates, but unlike high school where you're always just together all the time when you're at school, you can take extracurriculars that are completely different and completely out of the question. You have different friend groups. You can have multiple friend groups at a time even. So I think that was something that was different for me the most.
Oh, yeah, and relating to that, moving from secondary to university, how did you cope with perhaps the culture shock of, say, moving to a different country overseas? Perhaps, Marco, first.
For me, it was interacting with the people there, because I've been in one school for most of my life. So for me, meeting new people, it's quite difficult to adjust with, especially abroad. They talk so fluently and very much more expressive in terms of their emotions and what they talk about. So I have to learn to open myself more and be more be more talkative maybe. And also they like to go out a lot, which we don't really do here. And yeah, that's one of the differences.
And what about Kaudi? Your experience with culture shock?
I wouldn't say I was shocked, but yeah, it was different. I remember I wasn't used to hugging people when greeting them, so I was like, oh, here we just usually like hi, right? And then they actually went for a hug even though we weren't that close. So it's like, okay. But other than that, yeah, I think Marco is right. So it's definitely a lot more social there. They go out a lot. And I think in Melbourne, because there's a lot of cultures, a lot of international students, you can choose, if you want to stick with Indonesians or you want to stick with other nationalities as well.
Yeah, well then, speaking of just social groups, what were some of the adaptations that you had to make to cope with this new lifestyle environment, or perhaps conforming to a new people there?
For me, definitely it's living with other people. So I lived in this flat and I shared with 3 friends, and sometimes one of them likes to we each have our different tendencies, and sometimes maybe the flat becomes too messy and some of us don't like it and some of us think it's okay, it's not messy. So yeah, little conflicts arise, but we always manage to finally for example, set a schedule, who cleans at what day or who pays the bills for this stuff, because some people use up more things than others or stuff like that. Yeah.
So is it having the experience of having roommates?
Yeah.
Kaudi, do you have any similar experiences?
For me, because I lived alone, so I think it was more about how to get myself out there and experience as much as I can, just outside of my comfort zone. I just went to places alone a lot at the first time, Like I watched a movie alone at Melbourne. I went volunteering at like this faraway place, like alone, and just meeting new people, and went to the mosque community there, and went. I mean, it's really insightful to see, even immigrants from Somalia, right, living there and hearing their stories, like really crazy. They escaped war to go there. So I think just getting yourself out there, interacting with new people that you never know, from wherever they are, and actually having, meaningful conversations with them. I think that was my challenge to really, explore what's around you, because there's a lot of stories that will be beneficial for you to take in.
See, so it's interesting to see how your initial experiences are contrasting or completely different from one another. But perhaps one thing you may have in common. So, like, who helped you when the university papers or perhaps even stress started to pile up?
Friends, of course. I mean, because we're working in architecture school, we worked in like studios, so we are often left by our teachers to work on this project. So we interact mostly with our friends and our peers. So they help me a lot. For example, in like technical stuff, or even like emotionally, mentally, and they give me emotional support as well. So yeah.
I'm more of an introvert, I guess, so I just go alone somewhere, like go to the park, or just volunteering, because I do it weekly, and just being with plants, just being busy with doing something that's more physical. I think that really helped to take my mind a lot off of things.
Right? So that's like one of your personal ways of coping with stress. But perhaps could you mention some learning traits that perhaps you either learned from, of course, school, perhaps you picked up along the way that helped you, overcome these difficult times?
For me, it's for the ability to learn on your own, I guess, or willing to find information. Because like in one of the IB learner profiles, like being an inquirer and stuff, and balanced. So I was used to like finding stuff on my own here. For example, for this personal project, and we have to research our own topic and stuff. So it helped me for doing assignments there, because I don't have to. I've done something like that before. I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because sometimes your friends would, ask you to study with them, but it's actually so ineffective, because you just end up talking to each other like most of the time, right? So you just have to kind of learn how to kind of create your own time to learn by yourself, and then just focus. And I guess being an SVP, I guess, has taught us both that we can do things on our own, search on our own. And I guess another thing I would add to that is just being passionate about the subject itself. Don't just take it as something that you just need to learn in uni just because you need to pass, but actually see the value behind learning it, and actually seeing it being applied in real life, when you go out there. Not necessarily as, a marketer, but just as a human being living in this world, right?
I think you both really touch on something really interesting, and I want to ask you a bit more about it. Is you both talk about your experiences of going overseas. Now, what do you think what did you learn about, what did you learn about yourself when you did go overseas?
Yeah, I might have to think about this.
I'm fascinated, Audie, when you said that when you originally went there, you were an introvert, and then you started to do things.
Okay, well, I guess I was more certain about who I am and less concerned about fitting in, I guess. Well, I guess that hasn't been a problem since I was, in high school, but I mean, just being more sure of yourself. So for example, right, I went in there, and I know some people are concerned about like wearing the hijab, right? And I actually started wearing the hijab when I was there in Melbourne, right? And that's just because I found that this is what I wanted to do, just from the interactions that I have there. And then actually being able to talk about, what I'm learning in uni beyond the class with my friends as well. Somehow, these discussions kind of helps me
Kayak
shape what I believe as well as a person.
aku itu kayak cerita lamanya tapi ada
Yeah. For me, I
Itu
guess
yang enggak
I get the chance to explore more of my interests besides architecture and art. I'm really interested in music as well, and the environment there is very it's such a creative city, you may say. So there are a lot of music events, a lot of art events, and I get really inspired because I get to watch the artists that I really like listening to in high school, and they apparently, like, some of them are playing in Glasgow, and I was really inspired. And yeah, the environment there is very helpful for creative people, I guess.
Okay, so I've got two more questions for you. The first one is, I guess it's kind of a big question, is how do you feel SVP set you up for success?
You've been here longer. You can start first.
I guess I wouldn't say I'm successful yet, but SVP has definitely helped me throughout my journey by giving me the skills both academically and non-academically, and it has helped me a lot in my character development. For example, also for giving me the awareness of the society around us and the environment around us. For example, from doing community service acts and also maybe non-academic activities, such as we had this event called Spartacus where we invited other schools from around Bekasi, and I was involved in the sponsorship division, so I was exposed to meeting people from corporations and talking to them, and I made the graphic and design as well, which helped me a lot for applying to uni for my portfolio. So yeah, more of that, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah, exact same. So I think I was a super introvert in middle school, and then coming to SVP, I was like, I'm just gonna change myself. I'm just gonna do all these things. And I think when you have that mindset, I think SVP just has a lot of things ready for you. So Marcus mentioned, there's student council, there's Spartacus, there's a lot of events that you can get yourself involved with. But again, it depends on you, right? Whether you want to take that opportunity or not. But it's there in SVP if you want to take it. So yeah, I think that's for me.
I think you both touch on the value of a holistic education, where education is not just grades. It's, you said, your character development as well. Thank you for sharing that. Now, for all the people watching at home, as two people that have gone from secondary to university, what are your words of wisdom you would like to share?
For me, it's like, I guess, don't be afraid to try new things and explore as much as you can. Especially, for example, you're in the city, explore the city as much as you can. And if you can, explore beyond that, like travel to places, introduce yourself to many people, just try to get to know them. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, same. So I think other than just studying, which is of course the main reason you're there, but also you have to appreciate the land that you're in, right? So we're really getting out there, learning about the history of the place itself, interacting with the people who actually live there, and their experiences, how they're coming here, really enhances you as a person and really helps you to appreciate the place that you're in right now when you're studying abroad, and also makes your education even more meaningful as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with both of you. Now, Toby, do you have some questions for us?
Well, perhaps not from me specifically. However, we do have a couple of questions from the audience ready with us. So perhaps you could just get into this. So one question is from the audience. Is it, how did universities help you to find job opportunities? And how difficult is it for international students to find, internships abroad? If any one of you would like to start.
My university has this division, advisor, career advisor. So I remember at the time I wanted to take a part-time job in uni, and she helped me a lot in making my CV and tell me what I should put in that one. But I unfortunately didn't have a chance to do an architecture internship abroad or work abroad, so I'm sorry I don't have that answer for that. But yeah, my uni has this career advisor that will help you out if you want to find a job.
Yeah,
Okay.
same with me as well. I think it's quite competitive as well, especially like with international students. Usually there's a lot more requirements like visa and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? For the company there, so sometimes they they are more selective, I guess, with the international students that applies to the companies there. But I think in terms of support from the university, there's definitely that career advisor. And I think in University of Melbourne, if you're in the business or commerce department, there's actually a subject where you do actual consulting with the uni. But it's very competitive to get there, and you have to be selected by interviews and stuff. But basically, what you do in that subject is work with smaller companies that the university works with, and actually conducts consulting with them with a supervisor. So I think opportunities like that from within the university also exists. Yeah.
On the subject of opportunities and of course having jobs, perhaps can you describe your experiences with part-time jobs and whether or not you can study, and, work part-time, and how you manage perhaps your time with that.
I think you do it.
I took random jobs for my part-time job. So there was this one job where it says PR or public representative, but it turns out like
Public
what I have to do
relations.
public relations.
Yeah.
What I have to do was spread flyers for this club at night.
Yeah.
And then I worked from like 11 p.m. till like 1:30 a.m. or
What?
2. Yeah, I didn't do that for long. I took that just to save up because I really wanted to buy this musical equipment. And finally, when I did, I quit after 2 months. But the second job I took was being a cycle bicycle delivery guy, Deliveroo, if anybody knows.
Yeah.
And
that one.
it's nice because it's you can pick when you want to work, and since architecture school is a bit demanding in terms of time, so I can just choose whenever I want to work.
It's like Gojek but with a bicycle,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
It's really tiring. Yeah.
For me also, yeah, odd jobs. So I remember I was working like as a temporary like part-timer for this market research company where I just had to pack like a lot of pads, women's pads into like envelopes and just send them out. I just worked for like a whole day and then they pay me by the end of the day. And I think I've worked also like at a kebab shop just for one day. Yeah, just because they needed someone there at the time, so they just pay me for that day. But mostly I do volunteering, but even the volunteering experiences itself helps you, I guess, professionally to experience. And I went joining what's called ISAC. They are a youth leadership development program, organization, and I meet with companies to just kind of to get them to buy our product, which is to send, interns from abroad to Melbourne to work for them. So I guess it's more of a volunteering because I didn't get paid, but it was kind of work as well because I have a target. I have to meet with, certain amounts of companies in a week and just pitch to them. Yeah.
That's some interesting insights on the jobs. But one question about say community and social life. Were there like any Indonesian communities like in your universities or perhaps just in the community around you? And what about like English fluency? Like, what about communication with them like outside of Indonesian communities?
I think there's PPI. I don't know if it's also there. Yeah, it's always in every country, I think. There's an Indonesian association. We're everywhere. Don't have to worry about
in my
that.
city, maybe not as big as the one in Melbourne. Like,
yeah.
there are only 50 people, I think.
Oh, okay.
How many people are in here?
I think, yeah, I don't know. It's huge. They even create like musicals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we also have some events where we introduce Indonesian culture to people around.
Yeah.
Where we make like some of them cook, and then we have like dances or performances. And
Yeah.
I like coming there and eating nasi kuning, for example.
I was just about to ask, what food from Indonesia could you find in Glasgow and in Australia?
Food, nothing. I guess you can find this sambal terasi in this Asian
Burudi sama
market.
burudi, is it?
I don't know what
Oh,
brand
okay.
is it. I think it's ABC or something.
Oh, okay, okay.
But it tastes different, and there's this ketchup manis as well, but it also tastes different.
In Melbourne, there's
Melbourne?
everything
Yeah,
because
there's everything.
it's so close to Indonesia, anyways, right? So, and then there's a lot of Indonesians there, so they import a lot of things. Even Indonesians who moved to Australia, opening up Indonesian restaurants. There's also that. The taste can be quite good, not as good as here, of course, but like it's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, next up here, we actually have a personal question to Kaudi.
I'm scared.
What's your tips on time management, and how do you cope with your studies when it gets difficult?
Yeah, it's not like high school, right? When I used to wing like exams, I just study like 2 days or 1 day before. You can't do that in uni. So yeah, I mean, I didn't try, but I'm sure if I tried, I would have failed a subject. You have to, and I think in Australia, it's a good thing that they have this thing called Throwback. So they actually give you 2 weeks of just no class. It's like a holiday, but for students to actually prepare for their exams. And so don't use that time to, do other things than studying. Just be disciplined. And then also, yeah, I think in a way, manage your time means being strict with yourself. You want something to hang out, for example, but you just have to stop yourself there.
All right, and perhaps another question here regarding motivation. Like, how did you not lose motivation in continuing and giving your best in the grade 12 studies after being accepted into your uni? So perhaps this is a situation for Camargo.
I guess just I mean, like, take learning as a fun experience. I mean, I'm not really a good example because
You lost your motivation.
I guess, but after that, I mean, maybe in grade 12, I didn't appreciate it as much. But as I go on after uni and working, I begin to like take many interests, for example, in non-architecture stuff, for example, like in physics, biology, and I wish I learned more when I was in high school. So you just learn as much as you can.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, and okay, just relating to that, perhaps during the study, is there any scholarship for the international students, and will it be easier compared to local students there? I guess you're talking about competition.
I think if you go to University of Melbourne through Universitas Indonesia, there's actually a scholarship that you can take. It's based on your grades. So if you are a GPA something or above, you get like 20% discount. Someone actually got like a 50%, off based on their grades. So I think as long as you get that grade, you will get it. So if you are planning to take double degree from Universitas Indonesia, just use your time in UI because the UI subjects are quite easy for you to get a good score on, and so you get the scholarship. Yeah.
Any advice from Kawan or?
For my uni, for undergraduate studies, there are not so many scholarships, unfortunately. But there are some where you can apply with your grades as well, where you can get a few £1,000 off your tuition. But yeah, that's not so much.
Right.
Yeah.
So in regards to perhaps studying or applying overseas, like what is the most important aspect, or like what are some of the most important application like requirements, something that appeals to overseas standards?
Your grades. Your grades, but also the things you do outside of school as well, right? I think you have to be like well balanced.
That's true.
And you show that you're accomplishing a lot of things other than just your academic achievements. So I think you go to Scholars Cup, right?
Yeah, but didn't.
Yeah, but I mean like just showing that you were there, right? And
Yeah.
then doing the Spartacus and stuff, student council, just put in as much activity as you can and just like to prove that you are well balanced and not just, focusing on your studies. I think that's
Yeah, and
Important.
specifically maybe for art school, they look a lot into your portfolio, your art portfolio, which is not necessarily the things you do at school, for example, art class, but the things you do on your own as well. I think it's important to explore, for example, if you want to take art or architecture.
See,
So,
those are some very useful insights. And perhaps one here, like, how long do you think does the application process take, or perhaps when should you start preparing for university? Like, if you have to say.
let's see.
I think, I don't know, a few months before, or like, I don't know, I forgot.
I think I started because you need your grades,
Yeah.
don't you? So yeah, after that, I guess. And I started 6 months in grade 12, for example, halfway, and then I started to look for uni. But the earlier, the better, I think.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so perhaps like moving on to the next question. This perhaps something more, I guess, specific, but studying abroad, moving there, like, how are the public transportations, and what are the prospects of, like, say, if you want to drive on your own, can you get driving licenses abroad, or how take us through that process?
I think in Australia you can use your Indonesian driving license. You just need to go to like the, I don't know, place, and then just get certified that, oh, this is recognized by the Australian government. You can drive, because it's because a lot of my friends, I think, drive when we were going somewhere together. So they rented a car and they just drove with their license, their Indonesian license. In terms of public transport, it's very accessible in Melbourne. So I went everywhere with tram, the train, even until late at night. It's free when you're just traveling around the central business district. So I think it's just very accessible. It's very comfortable as well.
yeah, we have public transport systems as well in Glasgow, like buses or like subway or this underground train. But the most effective as students, I think, is walking. So you're gonna walk a lot. Specifically in my city, but maybe in other cities which are much larger. Yeah, I think that. Yeah.
Because my uni is near the city, so it's very easy for you to just use the tram. So look at where your uni is at.
Yep. So just like some insightful locations, like on location factors. And now perhaps going back to applying there. Do I need an education agent to study in Glasgow? A question for Kamarko.
Educational agents such as.
Yeah. Perhaps like university agents, or perhaps like
Like someone to help you through the process of applying and stuff.
I guess it depends on you, but I don't think, for me, I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, I don't really think it's.
Because he applied by himself. Yeah.
Yeah, I applied by myself. How about you, Dee?
Yeah, I also the university Universitas Indonesia gave us the agent. But I mean, it was different because they were already partnering with Universitas Indonesia, right? So it was kind of easier for us to get accepted as long as we meet some of the requirements that were already set. Yeah.
But in the UK, through UCAS, it helps you a lot because it serves as a platform for application, so it makes the process so much easier for you to for example, upload your grades and everything.
Okay, and perhaps Kamarko, could you like add on to that, since you applied, for yourself, or in this case through UCAS? Was it difficult to get, say, study visas, and could you please explain the process of obtaining one?
Ooh, don't remember, but as long as you get this acceptance letter from your university, it makes it much easier for applying for the visa, of course. And you must show, for example, what's that? Bank.
Your bank account.
State.
Your parents' bank account.
That's something you have to prepare as well.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like you have to show your passport as well, where you've been in the last like 5 years or something, right?
Okay. And or perhaps to close off this session, like, must I be fully fluent in the language of the host country? So perhaps support for international students. Any comment on that?
I've met students who weren't that fluent, but they got accepted. Well, I think you can I mean, even if your English is not perfect, you can always develop it when you were there. You will need to study harder, I guess, but you'll get there. I think it's easier for you to learn English, for example, in my case, because we speak English in Melbourne, right? It's easier to learn more fluent English when you're also surrounded by English-speaking people. So,
Yeah, but for countries that don't use English, I've seen my friends like studying the language years before they even start going to uni. So, for example, like German. So this my friend has been studying German since we are early in high school to prepare for his education in Germany, I guess.
I think you touch on a really important fact, is that if you want to go somewhere, do your research.
Yeah.
If you want to go to a place where they speak a different language, start planning a lot earlier. So I'd like to thank you both for joining us, and thank you for sharing your honest, candid answers. I think they'll really help everyone out. I think university is definitely as challenging as it is exciting.
And now for the next session, we would like to invite our secondary vice principal, Pak Felix, to begin the Overseas University Fair with his opening speech.
To our beloved students, prospective parents, and education partners, good morning. As part of our continued effort to support the educational needs of our students, we at Sekolah Victory Plus have organized today's Overseas University Fair to expose them to different universities all around the globe. Year in, year out, our internationally competitive graduates venture abroad to continue their educations to top-ranking universities where they can showcase their academic excellence, maturity, and international perspective. As part of our career counseling program, we welcome 51 universities that will share key information relating to their admissions policies and scholarships. We encourage you, dear students, to attend all of your sessions and ask questions so you may get the most out of this event. Our student welfare, led by Ibu Andini, along with Mr. David and Miss Evelyn, will help you navigate through the decision-making process relating to choosing the right major and university for you. We hope that today's activity will be a challenge to get your ATL skills to good use as you interact with education agents and university representatives. As Abraham Lincoln said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. We are excited to be in the company of future leaders and industry trailblazers. To our future parents, please select the university you would like to know more about and engage with our invited guests. We hope that you will find your attendance here an insightful experience. We would like to thank all the agencies and universities who made it here today. We would like to acknowledge the IDP Jakarta, Central International Educations, Fortrust, ACE Educations, and GROW and HE. Thank you for working with us in making this event happen. Again, welcome to all of you, and I hope that you will find this Overseas University Fair insightful and helpful.
Thank you, Pak Felix. As we hand over the event to the rest of our team, I would like to take this opportunity to say to all of you students watching at home, whether you are just beginning to dream, planning your university path, or even packing your bags, I'd like to share this quote from one of my favorite books, Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose.
On behalf of Mr. Ed and the entire SVP family, thank you for joining us today, and please enjoy the following sessions. Please remember to add your class and name to your Zoom ID and click on the appropriate breakout rooms and watch the Zoom video for further guidance. And most of all, enjoy your time.